The day began without urgency. Light entered the room at an angle I had not noticed before, thin and muted, cutting across the floor and walls in quiet lines. I remained in bed for a while, sensing the weight of my body, the pressure in my chest, the tension along the spine. Limbs rested lightly, hands relaxed, feet pressing against the floor with subtle gravity. Presence threaded naturally through each sensation. Fatigue, steady and even, carried awareness. Memory surfaced faintly, as if drifting along the edges of perception. Not stories, not past events, but traces. The faint smell of coffee from a cafe long ago, the texture of a worn wooden chair, sunlight falling on a floor I no longer remember. They arrived quietly, registered in the body before the mind could interpret them, and faded. There was no longing, no commentary, just acknowledgement. Presence itself held them. I rose slowly. Movements were deliberate but unforced. Feet found the floor. Shoulders rolled. Spine extended. Each shift threaded through awareness, naturally. Coffee was prepared with intention, not thought. The warmth of the cup in my hands grounded attention. Taste arrived fully. The faint bitterness, the weight, the warmth moving from lips to chest. Awareness threaded through each gesture. Each motion existed fully, then dissolved. I stepped outside. The city carried its usual rhythm. Cars, pedestrians, distant voices. Each detail arrived layered. Sound, light, motion, texture. Awareness received it all evenly, threading through body and environment. Fatigue carried perception, allowing each impression to register without fragmentation. Memory flickered intermittently. The smell of rain on asphalt years ago, the distant echo of a train platform, the texture of a sidewalk I had walked long before. Past and present merged quietly, seamlessly. People were present, but not as subjects to engage or analyze. A man paused at a corner, adjusting his bag. A woman shifted in her stride. A child tripped and regained balance. Each movement was recorded fully, observed in detail, but left no residue. Social presence existed as texture, integrated naturally into awareness. Interaction, when necessary, arrived minimally. A nod, a brief word, acknowledgement of proximity. All concluded cleanly, leaving no internal tension behind. I walked slowly through the streets, paying attention to subtle shifts in environment. Light across walls, air moving around buildings, temperature changing imperceptibly as the day progressed. Each sensation threaded into the body, into awareness. Footsteps pressed in a pavement, shifting weight slightly with each step. Breath threaded through chest and shoulders, connecting mind and body. Fatigue remained a gentle ballast, steadying attention, supporting presence without effort. By mid-morning, memory appeared in fragments. A tone of sunlight in a forgotten room, the sound of a distant train, the texture of a door I had once touched. They did not form narrative. They did not demand analysis. They simply arrived, registered, and dissolved. Awareness was continuous, unbroken. Presence threaded through body, memory, and environment seamlessly. Lunch occurred quietly. I observed people moving around me. Conversations overlapped, voices rising and falling, gestures shifting in subtle ways. I did not engage beyond necessary gestures, lifting utensils, shifting weight, acknowledging proximity. Social contact became part of the continuous field of perception, integrated with bodily awareness. Fatigue absorbed each input evenly. Observation remained continuous, unbroken, unforced. Later, walking through a park, I noticed the interplay of light, shadow, and movement. Leaves shifted slightly in the wind. Sunlight fell across branches in patterns I could not name. Birds called faintly, moved through space. Every impression registered fully. Memory fragments surfaced intermittently. The smell of wet grass from a childhood path, sunlight reflecting off water decades ago, footsteps along familiar trails. They arrived in the body first, influencing movement subtly. Past and present coexisted quietly, carried seamlessly by awareness. Afternoon brought minimal social contact. A colleague asked a brief question. Words were exchanged. Interaction concluded. No internal commentary arose. Presence carried it naturally. Fatigue carried attention. Observation remained steady. Awareness integrated sensory perception, bodily sensation, memory fragments, and social presence into a continuous thread. By evening, light softened. I did not turn on lamps immediately. Shadows deepened, contours blurred. I sat on the floor, back pressed against the wall, legs extended, hands resting lightly. Breath threaded through chest, shoulders, spine, and limbs. Awareness flowed into each sensation, each subtle movement, each trace of memory. Fatigue, presence, observation, and social awareness coexisted seamlessly. Presence itself became sufficient. Dinner was deliberate, simple. Taste, texture, temperature registered fully. Memory fragments surfaced briefly, faint impressions from past experiences, the feel of a wooden table, the angle of light on a wall, the smell of damp earth. All arrived, registered, and dissolved. Awareness remained continuous, threading bodily perception, environmental detail, and social texture. Fatigue provided stability rather than limitation. Observation carried presence naturally. Later, I lay down. Sleep arrived without urgency. Consciousness threaded between rest, dreams, and bodily awareness. Fatigue carried attention. Awareness threaded memory fragments, and both supported a quiet, continuous presence. The night passed uninterrupted. Presence was itself the medium. Awareness was the field. Memory was texture, not story. By morning, the rhythm persisted. Life moved quietly around me. Tasks, movement, social contact, all unfolded within the continuous field of awareness. Fatigue and presence coexisted seamlessly. Memory appeared intermittently, never demanding, never insisting. Observation remained continuous. Presence carried itself, fully sufficient. Nothing dramatic occurred. No revelation arrived. No narrative demanded attention. Yet the continuity, the quiet persistence, the seamless integration of body, memory, awareness, and social texture became enough. Life moved. I moved with it. Awareness threaded through body, memory, and environment. Fatigue grounded attention. Observation carried presence. And in that quiet, continuous, subtle flow, I existed fully, neither interpreting, anticipating, nor judging. Simply present, simply aware, simply enduring. Presence itself had become enough. The morning arrived quietly, as if the world itself had decided to move at a slower pace. Light spilled through the blinds in muted ribbons, illuminating dust that floated in slow, steady arcs. I lay in bed for a few moments longer, feeling the familiar weight of my body, the low pressure in my chest, the tension that always lingered along the spine. Limbs relaxed into the mattress, hands and feet grounded, awareness threaded through every detail without effort. Fatigue was present, steady and even, but it no longer demanded attention. It simply carried consciousness, like ballast stabilizing a moving vessel. Memory surfaced in soft fragments. Not stories, not sequences, not longing, but impressions. The faint smell of a street cafe decades ago, sunlight on a wall in a room I had not seen for years, the subtle texture of a wooden railing along a forgotten staircase. These impressions arrived quietly, threading themselves into awareness through the body first, lingering long enough to register, and then dissolving without insistence. Presence itself received them fully, needing nothing more. I rose. Movement was deliberate, slow, and unhurried. Each limb aligned naturally, each joint confirming action before it occurred. Feet met the floor, shoulders rolled, spine extended. Each small shift threaded seamlessly into attention. Coffee was prepared with the same slow care. Warmth, aroma, and taste arrived fully, absorbed by the body and acknowledged by the mind. I did not compare, did not interpret, did not anticipate. I simply registered. Each sensation existed fully and then released itself back into the field of perception. Stepping outside, the city was already alive, but at a rhythm I could observe without being drawn into it. Vehicles passed, pedestrians shifted, distant conversations threaded through the air. Each detail arrived layered. movement, sound, temperature, light, and texture. Awareness absorbed it all, threading effortlessly through the body, carrying each impression without tension. Fatigue remained steady, a ballast that allowed perception to flow continuously, unbroken and unforced. Memory appeared intermittently as I walked. A faint odor of wet earth brought the recollection of a path I had walked years ago, the angle of sunlight on a pavement long forgotten, the texture of a door handle I could no longer place. These impressions did not demand reflection. They did not form storylines or narratives. They arrived, registered, and dissolved, threading past and present seamlessly into awareness. Social contact occurred gradually. A neighbor passed, nodding slightly. A man paused to adjust his bag, his movements subtle and deliberate. A child tripped, regained balance. Each detail was noticed without judgment, each interaction fully observed, but left no residue. Interaction became texture rather than event. Presence threaded through each gesture naturally, carrying attention through the subtle social fabric of the day. By mid-morning, I entered a shared space at work. Conversations overlapped in layered tones. Laughter, voices, footsteps, shifting furniture. I did not engage beyond necessary gestures, lifting utensils, shifting weight, acknowledging proximity. Social presence became part of the continuous field of awareness, integrated with bodily sensation. Fatigue absorbed each stimulus evenly, keeping attention steady. Observation remained continuous, unbroken, unforced. Walking through a nearby park later, I noticed the subtle dynamics of space. Light fell through branches in patterns I could not name, shifting with the wind. Leaves rustled softly. Birds called faintly, moving through invisible trajectories. Each motion registered fully. Memory fragments surfaced intermittently. A smell of damp grass from childhood, the texture of a sidewalk long forgotten, the distant echo of a train platform. They arrived in the body first, influencing posture, movement, and subtle shifts in attention. Past and present coexisted quietly, threading seamlessly through perception. Interactions continued minimally through the afternoon. A colleague asked a brief question. Words passed, gestures followed. No internal commentary arose. No tension lingered. Presence carried each exchange naturally. Awareness threaded through body, environment, and social space seamlessly. Fatigue remained a gentle ballast, stabilizing attention without effort. Observation integrated memory fragments, subtle environmental cues, and social texture into a continuous, unbroken field. By evening, the world softened. Light waned. Shadows deepened. Contours blurred. I did not turn on lamps immediately. I sat on the floor, back resting against the wall, legs extended, hands relaxed. Breath threaded through chest, shoulders, spine, and limbs. Awareness flowed into every sensation. Movement, pressure, texture, subtle warmth or coolness. Memory fragments surfaced. The feel of a door handle, the angle of sunlight, a faint smell of damp earth. They arrived without narrative, without longing, without insistence. Observation continued uninterrupted. Presence became complete, self-sustaining. Dinner was deliberate and simple. Taste, texture, and temperature registered fully. Memory surfaced faintly. Tactile impressions of objects, sounds, sent from past experiences. Each fragment arrived, registered, and faded. Awareness remained unbroken, threading bodily perception, environmental detail, and social presence into a seamless continuum. Fatigue supported presence rather than limiting it. Observation carried awareness naturally. Later, I lay down. Sleep arrived gradually. Consciousness threaded through wakefulness, dreams, and bodily awareness without interruption. Fatigue carried attention. Awareness threaded memory fragments. Both supported a continuous, quiet presence. The night passed without drama, without narrative, without demand. Presence itself became medium, awareness became field, memory became texture, and life unfolded quietly. By morning, the rhythm persisted. Movement, social contact, environmental perception, and memory all threaded into the continuous field of presence. Fatigue remained a ballast. Awareness remained steady. Memory surfaced intermittently without insisting. Observation integrated all inputs seamlessly. Presence was sufficient. Life moved. I moved with it. Awareness threaded through body, memory, environment, and social space continuously. Nothing dramatic occurred. No revelation arrived. No urgency demanded attention. Yet the quiet, persistent, continuous flow was enough. Rhythm, continuity, and integration became self-sustaining. Awareness, fatigue, memory, and social perception coexisted seamlessly. Presence carried itself fully. And in that quiet, ongoing, subtle field, I existed fully. Neither judging, interpreting, nor anticipating. Simply present, simply aware, simply enduring. Presence itself had become enough. Morning arrived slowly, quietly, with no announcement. The light filtered through the blinds and muted lines, brushing the floor and walls. I lay still for a while, sensing the weight of my body against the mattress, the steady pressure in my chest, the subtle tension along my spine. Limbs rested lightly, hands and feet grounded. Awareness threaded naturally through each sensation. Fatigue, steady and even, carried consciousness like ballast through a moving vessel, steadying presence without effort. Memory surfaced in soft fragments, drifting in without insistence. The smell of damp earth from a street long forgotten, the texture of a wooden railing, the angle of sunlight on a floor I could no longer name. They arrived quietly, threading through body first, then mind, and faded without narrative. No longing arose, no judgment. Presence itself received them fully. I rose slowly. Movement was deliberate, precise, and unhurried. Feet found the floor. Shoulders rolled. Spine extended. Each action threaded seamlessly into attention. I prepared coffee with intention, but without thought. Warmth, aroma, and taste arrived fully, absorbed by the body and acknowledged by the mind. Each motion existed fully, then released itself back into the ongoing flow of perception. Stepping outside, the city unfolded quietly. Cars moved along familiar lines, pedestrians shifted, voices threaded through space. Each layer, movement, light, sound, temperature, texture, registered fully. Awareness carried it all evenly, fatigue providing ballast. Memory flickered intermittently. A sound from a train platform years ago, a scent from childhood, the texture of a wall long forgotten. Past and present coexisted quietly, threading naturally through awareness. Social interactions occurred in small, functional bursts. A neighbor nodded in passing. A colleague asked a practical question. Words passed, gestures followed, and the moment concluded cleanly. No tension lingered, no commentary arose. Social presence was absorbed into awareness, integrated seamlessly with bodily perception. Fatigue carried attention. Observation remained steady. I walked through a park later, noticing the subtle dynamics of space. Sunlight shifted through branches, casting patterns I could not name. Leaves moved in faint currents of air. Birds called softly, moving along invisible trajectories. Every impression registered fully. Memory fragments appeared intermittently. The smell of grass after rain from years ago, footsteps along forgotten paths, the echo of distant voices. They were observed as texture, affecting movement and posture subtly, without forming narrative or longing. Past and present coexisted quietly, seamlessly. Afternoon brought more interactions. Colleagues passed with brief greetings. Words exchanged, gestures acknowledged. No internal commentary arose. Presence carried each interaction naturally. Fatigue remained steady. Observation unbroken. Awareness threaded through body, environment, social contact, and memory fragments seamlessly. The continuity persisted. Evening softened the world. Light faded, shadows deepened, contours blurred. I did not turn on lamps immediately. I sat on the floor, back resting against the wall, legs extended, hands relaxed. Breath threaded through chest, shoulders, spine, and limbs. Awareness flowed through every sensation. Movement, pressure, texture, warmth, subtle coolness. Memory fragments surfaced, the tilt of sunlight, a faint smell of damp earth, the feel of a wooden chair. They arrived quietly, registered fully, and faded. Observation continued uninterrupted. Presence became complete, self-sustaining. Dinner passed quietly. Taste, texture, and temperature registered fully. Memory appeared faintly. Tactile impressions of objects, sounds, and scent from past experiences. Each fragment arrived, registered, and faded without narrative. Awareness remained continuous, threading bodily perception, environmental detail, and social texture. Fatigue provided stability rather than limitation. Observation carried presence effortlessly. Later, I lay down. Sleep arrived gradually. Consciousness threaded between wakefulness, dreams, and bodily awareness without interruption. Fatigue carried attention. Awareness threaded memory fragments. Both supported continuous presence. The night passed without drama, without narrative, without demand. Presence itself became medium, awareness became field, memory became texture. Life unfolded quietly. By morning, continuity persisted. Movement, social contact, environmental perception, and memory threaded into the continuous field of presence. Fatigue remained ballast. Awareness remained steady. Memory appeared intermittently without insistence. Observation integrated all inputs seamlessly. Presence was sufficient. Life moved. I moved with it. Awareness threaded through body, memory, environment, and social space continuously. Over the following days, the rhythm persisted. Walking through streets, observing light, shadows, and motion, encountering brief social contact, threading awareness through body and memory, all integrated seamlessly. Fatigue grounded attention. Memory surfaced in fragments, never demanding. Observation remained continuous. Presence carried itself fully, self-sustaining. Life moved quietly, uninterrupted, and I moved with it, neither shaping nor resisting, simply threading awareness through every sensation and perception. Even as weeks passed, nothing dramatic occurred. No revelation arrived. No urgency pressed. No narrative demanded attention. Yet the quiet persistence, the seamless integration of body, awareness, memory, social texture, and environmental perception became enough. Presence carried itself without effort. Life unfolded steadily, quietly, continuously. Evening fell again. Shadows deepened. I sat on the floor, legs extended, hands resting lightly. Breath threaded through chest, shoulders, spine, and limbs. Awareness flowed continuously into each sensation. The pressure of the body against the floor, the shifting temperature of air, the faint scents and sounds of the room, memory fragments appearing softly, then dissolving. Observation remained uninterrupted. Presence became self-contained, sufficient, whole. Dinner occurred with deliberate attention. Taste, texture, temperature registered fully. Memory fragments surfaced intermittently. Impressions from long ago, faint scents, subtle tactile memories. Each was received fully, then released. Awareness remained continuous, integrating bodily perception, social interactions, environmental impressions, and memory seamlessly. Fatigue remained ballast, supporting presence rather than limiting it. Observation carried attention effortlessly. Later, I lay down again. Sleep arrived gradually, threading consciousness through wakefulness, dreams, and bodily awareness. Fatigue and attention merged into medium. Awareness threaded memory and perception into field. The night passed uninterrupted. Presence itself carried life effortlessly. Observation, memory, social perception, and bodily awareness existed continuously, threading into a single field. By morning, the rhythm remained. Life moved quietly, seamlessly. Tasks, interactions, movement, all unfolded within the continuous field of awareness. Fatigue remained ballast. Memory appeared as texture, never insisting. Observation remained continuous. Presence was sufficient. Life moved. I moved with it. Awareness threaded continuously through body, memory, environment, and social space. Nothing dramatic occurred. No revelation arrived. No urgent necessity demanded attention. Yet the quiet persistence, the continuous flow, and the seamless integration of body, awareness, memory, and social texture became self-sustaining. Presence carried itself fully. Life moved quietly, uninterrupted, and in that quiet, continuous, subtle field, I existed fully, neither judging, interpreting, nor anticipating, simply present, simply aware, simply enduring. Presence itself had become enough.